of us have other things.
Some.
All right. On that note, welcome everyone to the 6th round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host Eddie Mercado. We're here to talk about UFC 221, which just went down in Perth, Australia. And, you know, other than what may have been for some people a lackluster fight with Curtis Blaydes over Mark Hunt, as expected, the pay-per-view part of this card was actually fun, if incredibly sloppy. For most.
I wouldn't say that Blaydes was lackluster, especially if you're a fan of wrestling. I mean, you're like, yeah. But if you're Australian, you're like, man, what is that bullshit? Like they should.
I'm a passionate, hardcore Mark Hunt fan, so seeing him lose, that hurt a little. There were a lot of people who are unhappy with that. I get it, but I can't discredit Curtis Blaydes for putting on the smartest performance he could after eating all the shots I thought he would eat early in this fight and then turning it around and being able to put Mark Hunt on his back over and over again. And he had to fight for those takedowns too. You can argue like, oh, well, he got him down like 8 times or whatever. But Curtis Blaydes actually like suplexing Mark Hunt belly to back a couple of times and stuff like that. Like, that shit ain't easy. You can't look at that and be like, oh, well, anybody with a wrestling game. Like, no. I mean, Curtis Blaydes is a big dude.
Yeah, but let's wait on that.
We'll get to that. We got to talk about this Yoel Romero, Luke Rockhold interim title fight that resulted in no interim champion. And so Yoel Romero missed weight going in. He couldn't be eligible to win the title. He beat Luke Rockhold, which made way too much sense to me, considering that Luke Rockhold still does not know how a left hand works when it's coming out of his head. And it really, like, Yoel Romero just windmilled like 2 of them early in that fight. And then the moment he actually like stepped in with a double jab left hand, the first one he threw, like the first clean left hand Yoel Romero threw, just knocked Rockhold out, basically. But I'm actually, what I want to say, and maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't, I'm actually happy that Romero didn't get to win an interim title. Because by all accounts, it sounds like Robert Whittaker's fine and fucking coming back. Like, I thought he would be out forever, but dude's already in the gym. So what the fuck do we need an interim champion for?
I don't even know, man. The whole interim situation is bullshit to me. And it's like, there should be one champion unless extenuating circumstances going on. Like, so, okay, so he's the champ. Whittaker's the champ. He gets ill, like a serious illness. Like, okay, I'm fine. All for that. I don't know if it was like the forecast of his return was so...
I think it was really dire. I mean, his staph in his fucking stomach. Like, that sounds awful. But he got over it quickly. So I'm happy that we don't need any interim title bullshit for that.
Was he stripped of his interim title? Or is he still the interim champion, Whittaker?
No, Whittaker's just the champ. He got elevated. He's full champ.
Okay, he's full champ now.
Yeah, and Yoel Romero was supposed to get an interim belt by beating Luke Rockhold, but he missed weight, and when you miss weight, you can't become interim champ. So,
right. Okay, so then I guess we get the rematch.
Yeah,
Whittaker Romero.
Yep.
Not even like that excited for it, honestly.
I know it was a good fight, but it was also a fight that Robert Whittaker clearly won and has the tools to win again. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not unexcited. I'm not totally disappointed in the fight, but the idea of Luke Rockhold fighting Robert Whittaker was a lot more enticing than Robert Whittaker fighting Yoel Romero again, which that's kind of the downside. Not that I hate seeing Luke Rockhold get blasted by left hands yet again. So, yeah, trading one happy moment for another.
But Luke was doing good. Like, he came out throwing his kicks. And then he decided in the third to get his jab pumping, which I was like, oh shit, like Luke's using his range. Like he might build off of that jab. Well, he actually started at the end of the second round. He started pumping his jab, didn't have time to do anything with it. Comes out spamming that jab there in the third. And I'm like, oh, here it comes. He's about to do something. And then Yoel's like, oh yeah, jabs? I can do jabs. Jab, jab, boom. Southpaw cross. And then a molly wop to finish the deal. And it's just, Yoel Romero pulled it. Yoel Romero, like he comes on in the third and puts you away. Like this is classic textbook Yoel Romero.
And I would be a lot more excited about a Luke Rockhold jab if that was something he'd started like 7 years ago. Making the shift like 10 years into your career of like, oh, I'm going to show some boxing skills. It's like, yeah, how deep do those skills go? Oh, jab, jab, cross. That's how deep they go.
Yeah, and his linear movement straight back is just it's not good. I mean, he pins himself up against the cage, and then the way he defends punches from there is not good.
You watch Dave Branch rock the hell out of him. Like Dave Branch, who has not KO'd anyone, maybe. And you can't then look at Yoel Romero fighting that fight and be like, Yoel Romero can't do that. He can't punch like Dave Branch can punch.
Nah. No. And like Rockhold was the favorite here, which blew my mind. Like so many people lost money tonight on Luke Rockhold. And it's like, but that's what you get, you know. You can't like that honestly, those odds are seriously like the most mind-boggling to me. Like I couldn't fathom Luke being that much of a favorite, especially with the way they opened. Because Yoel was the favorite when they first opened, as it should have been. And then somewhere down the line, it just, I don't know what happened or whatever the case, but the money started going in the way of Rockhold, and there's a lot of unhappy people right now, and I bet a lot of them live in Australia.
Well, speaking of that, we got to get to our co-main event. Curtis Blaydes, Mark Hunt. We talked about this a bit. Unhappy Australians. I feel bad watching Mark Hunt go down like this. I know he's got 2 more fights on his UFC contract before he's prepared to walk. But I feel sad because I love Mark Hunt. I'm a Mark Hunt. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
But he had, he started out just as strong as I thought he could carry this whole fight, and maybe a couple of years ago he could have. But at the same time, as sad as I am really happy to see Curtis Blaydes turn a corner and show up like a legit prospect at heavyweight.
Yeah, and I mean, we knew how tough he was coming in. We saw that in his Ngannou fight.
Yep.
But for me, it was, and like some of his wins were like questionable, like his Adam Milstead fight. It's like I didn't really. That was weird. You know how that happened, and then he kind of fought some dudes who weren't like exactly dangerous. You know, well, Olenek was dangerous, but like in a weird kind of like old man savvy kind of way.
Yeah.
And then, but this was like a legitimate like contender, elite fighter, and man, he showed the fuck up, man. Like, I'm sure a lot of people hated the fight, and it was frustrating. Mark Hunt, doing everything he could to get back to his feet, but just the rinse and repeat takedowns of Curtis Blaydes and like slamming takedowns, like with authority. Like he ragdolled Mark Hunt. Like who's ragdolling Mark Hunt?
It's pretty much Brock Lesnar, and that's it.
That's a very small list. A very small
list. Miocic was driving through a lot of singles and turning them into like extended takedowns where he would just pull Mark Hunt to the ground. The ability to pick up and slam another heavyweight, it's just like, that's why people were excited about Curtis Blaydes in the first place, is that there are so few heavyweights that can do that at an elite level.
And kudos to Blaydes for making the adjustment, because he came out trying to strike with Mark Hunt, and it was like, oh, that's a bad idea. This isn't going to end well. And he adjusted, and he did what he had to do to get the W, despite the hostile crowd booing him left and right. Good. New blood. Love it.
There are at least a lot of new fights for Curtis Blaydes at the top of the division. I'd be interested to see how he did against somebody like Alistair Overeem, or to see how he could do. Well, half the top of that division is like locked up in USADA test failures, so it's hard to think of like other.
You got to go fights. Man, I guarantee he's going to want that Ngannou rematch.
Yeah, the Ngannou rematch, and that would be fascinating. Like, it would be interesting to see, with Ngannou's failure to get up against Stipe Miocic, can Blaydes come out, look at that fight, and say, how much of this can I recreate this time out?
Oh, man, I love that. I absolutely love it. Or I
So
mean, the winner of Verdum and Volkov. That's
yeah,
reasonable. Also,
like
both
this.
of those are interesting stylistic, clashes, so to speak.
Mark Hunt's like 43. The top of this division has to turn over sooner or later. As much, I'm fine with Blaydes as much as anyone. He's got the size, he's got the chin, he's working on an overall game, even if all the pieces aren't there yet, and that's fine by me. Um, Before that, Tuivasa, speaking of newcomers, put a hurting on Cyril Asker. Said on
Yeah.
Twitter, Tuivasa, he looks like the basketball analogies, he looks like that fat kid in your neighborhood who's sure that he's got like NBA level skills, and everybody's just like, "No, dude, you really don't. You don't get off your couch ever." But then he fights like the dude who shows up on like an and one video and like totally runs shop on people, and you're like, "What the fuck is this?" Like he still looks every bit as out of shape in this Asker fight as he has at any point before. Like everything's bouncing and jiggling, and you
It's just,
know,
man, it's just that side of the world, man. They're just built
yeah,
differently. Like they're built differently. They're all just huge motherfuckers. Like
yep.
they're just big, like just big boned, I guess is the way to put it. But I mean, and even Mark Hunt, like,
Yeah.
he's always had that kind of fat man look to him.
Yeah.
But like you look at him and it's like, well, he actually doesn't really move that much, and then you see his deceptive speed, and it's a weird sort of athletic that we're just not used to. We're used to like Yoel Romero. That's what an athlete looks like.
Yeah.
But it's like, well,
And
it's
to
a
be
little
fair to
different.
Mark Hunt, if you go back and you see like decade old footage of him when he was kickboxing and like just starting out in MMA, dude was like in some serious shape at some points. That's the thing with Tai Tuivasa though. He's like 24, and you're like, you still like you look like you've just barely like started out, and you're like, nah, I can take you like flexing in the bathroom mirror, like I can take these chumps. And then he
Well, I
comes
mean,
out,
he
and he
did
can.
he did exit the octagon and go drink beer from a fan's shoe immediately after the fight. So I'm sure he parties pretty freaking hard.
Yeah. Thing is though, dude, like he is really fast and dynamic for heavyweight, and he's got a chin and a ton of belief in that chin to just stand in. And he's got somebody like Asker in front of him who's somebody he should beat, and he just knows he's like, I'm gonna let you hit me, and I know you can't hit me as hard as I can hit you, and that's all that matters in this moment. And that's what you want to see out of a young striker like that. You want to see the knowledge of like, look, man, we can go toe to toe, and that's fine for me because you're gonna get the worst every second of the worst end of this.
I like how he came out throwing his elbows. Like
Yeah.
that was I didn't expect that. I thought he was just gonna come out and try to box dude up, but he like right off the jump, he's throwing these beautiful standing elbows. And Asker was like, I feel like Asker was rocked the entire fight. And how he stood up, I don't even know. But the finishing blow was Tuivasa just pushing him over, and like Asker falls and does a face plant, and the referee stepped in. And it's like, did he just win? Did he just knock this dude out by push?
Yeah. Like ring out. If they, they need to get that moat fight thing so he can just like win by ring out.
Bring in some more sumo style. I like this.
Nonetheless, great performance from Tuivasa. Exactly the performance he's supposed to have over someone like Asker, who's athletically clinging on to the low end of the heavyweight division.
Yeah. And I mean, I said this in the staff picks. I just don't feel like he has a heavyweight chin. And you have to have a heavyweight chin at heavyweight. It's just that.
Well, he's also got that huge head on him. He's got like a head that's, even for a big dude, he's got a head that's like 3 times out of proportion with the rest of his body. And you can't have a head that big, and you're just gonna get tagged. Like that's all there is.
Yeah, a big head with no chin is not a good look. But this is some fun new blood at heavyweight. There's not a ton of characters in the heavyweight division, so it's nice that we actually have someone who can, just breathe some life into the division. It's just a whole bunch of staleness. Like, who's exciting? Like, who's an exciting character that you look forward to hearing from at the heavyweight division?
The only other 2 guys I can think of off the top of my head, young guys, are Justin Ledet and Willis, Big Baby. Like,
Okay, yeah. Okay,
those,
I like Willis. Yeah,
those
he's
are the only two other dudes who are just like weird. But Ledet, I think, is going down to 205. I saw last I heard. So basically, like Tuivasa and Willis are the heavyweights, the young heavyweights on a rise, making a statement out there.
I mean, even like the old ones, like look up the rankings, like from the top down. There's really not a like Ngannou has star power, but he's not like
He's not a talker.
I want to hear what he has to say.
No.
You know,
He's
but
very
Tuivasa,
humble and very like speak softly, carry a big stick kind of heavyweight.
you're talking about that picture he took with DJ, aren't you?
I am, man. Dude carrying one hell of a stick. All right, before that, Jake Matthews beat Li Jinglong, and career kind of performance from Matthews. Like I realize he's had wins that came faster, or were direct stoppages, doctor stoppage over Akbar Areola, submission of Johnny Case, submission for over Wagner Hocha and Deshaun Johnson. But the way he beat Li Jinglong is unquestionably the best Jake Matthews has ever looked in the cage.
Yeah, I think he just went from the Celtic kid to the Celtic man because he legit looked big out there. And I was worried because he was moving up from lightweight. So I was like, I don't know how he's going to look out there. But damn, like, dude looked, his back was just so like ripped. And he just looked different. I don't know. He looked like he had this confidence about him that he just, I don't know, man. It was nice to see. I feel like, yeah, it was dope, man. I thought it was great. I thought his hands were exceptionally powerful.
Yeah,
like he was hurting the leech every time he touched him. And he kept his cool when he was getting his eyes potentially removed when the leech was trying to defend the guillotine, which was some gnarly shit that I cannot believe the referee did not do something about that.
Yeah, I mean that I love Li Jinglong. I do. I'm a big fan of him and his style and his like come from behind, start to get reads and piece people up with combination boxing, but he should have been automatically DQ'd when he had his fingers in Matthews' eyes there.
Or if not 2 points deducted.
Yeah.
That was just uncalled for. But I mean, it's a fight, shit happens. And I mean, you're getting choked like that. People panic sometimes. And let's hope that it was just a panic. But there were like moments earlier where the leech was like grabbing the glove of Matthews. No. And, like, he was really doing everything in his power to try and win the fight. Like it was getting ugly out there. But Matthews just seemed too strong.
And credit to Matthews after the fight, too. He didn't have to be that nice about it, but he basically just excused it all and said, hey, it's a fight. Stuff happens. I'm not worried about it. Whatever.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to say that. So credit to him. My love for the leech makes me hope that the UFC doesn't do anything drastic like cut him after this. But I also kind of hope that somewhere along the way he gets a stern talking to.
Yeah, that was rough. And it's like you're doing that to the hometown guy. Like, you better get the fuck out of Australia, bro. That was tough, man. I don't like seeing shit like that.
Great performance from Matthews, though. Hope to see more of it. I mean, he looked a lot better than the dude that just scraped by Bojan Velichkovic in his last fight. And he has to, because scraping by Bojan Velichkovic at welterweight is not special.
No, not at all. But he looked really good here.
Yeah. Before that, Tyson Pedro with the Kimura on Saparov.
That was sweet.
Just a cool performance from Pedro. Saparov came out like a house on fire, like he always does, just starting fast, pouring offense on, pushing him back, going, making things a mess. And credit to Pedro for taking something that's a mess and just pulling out something gorgeous out of it.
Yeah, that was wild. Man, Saparov, he is... you know what? I've never laughed as hard in my life during a fight as I did when he fought John Vellante. Like, that fight was seriously the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. It was like a nerd bash gone awry. It's like when the bully or the kid tries to stand up to the bully, but it doesn't work out and he gets his ass kicked anyways. Like, I was just geeking out the entire fight, And so, like, I really wasn't expecting anything but just a tough as nails performance from Saparov. And that's exactly what I got. I mean, he did the best he could, but I don't know why he's in the UFC. He just doesn't seem like a UFC caliber kind of dude. And
Yeah, I really feel like that's one of the cases where some managers sold like McMaynard or Sean Shelby on Safarov sight unseen. We're like, look, he's got only finishes in his whole career, because he did coming into the UFC, and like, you know, he's a finisher. He'll be like, he can fight in Europe or something like that, and he's ready to go, and he'll be an awesome addition. And they didn't watch any tape or anything, and it's just like, it's like that dude. Oh god, that Ngannou fought, that is also a light heavyweight now. From Serbia, I want to say, Bojan Mihailovic.
okay.
Where it's just like, yeah, okay, maybe on paper what these guys were doing looks okay, but if you had watched even a little bit of tape, I can't understand why you would assign these dudes.
Yeah, I think he didn't win a single fight in the UFC. He was basically a punching bag for
He's still
everybody.
in the UFC as far as I can tell.
Oh shit.
Yeah. They're waiting for that next Europe card where they need to get a young prospect over against some dude.
Yeah, it's maybe Tuivasa will fight him next. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a light heavyweight. It'll be somebody else.
Well, that drop down Kimura though from Pedro was sick. That was absolutely sick. You never see that finish. Like, it's very rare that actually gets pulled off. And
yeah, which is kind of a credit to how bad Safarov is. But Pedro, he's got a complete game. Like, he's got a fun, crafty jiu-jitsu game. He's got a powerful boxing game. He needs more seasoning to be a little higher output, to not get even overwhelmed for a minute like by somebody like Safarov. Doesn't have to happen to you, but that'll all come in time. Before that, Dong Young Kim beat Damian Brown via split decision. And
don't care, Zane. I do not care about this fight in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, two dudes who were known for brawling. Dong Young Kim, Maestro, looks like he took that hard ass fight he had with Marco Polo Reyes that saw him get knocked out, and was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. And so now he just has like crafty outfighting, really like low simmering, uninteresting fights now. And the fact that one of them was against Takanori Gomi meant that he still knocked him the fuck out in under a round.
Yeah. Terrible fight. It was so sticky and just tit for tat. Neither guy really opening up and going for it. Yep. And it's just, man, it came at such a bad time too, because it's right after Israel Adesanya did his damn thing. Yep. And it's like, actually, there was a trifecta of just beautiful violence, and then this fight happened, and it's like, like what? It was really terrible.
Yeah. And I mean, part of that too is on the fact that Brown is one of the most foot slow fighters in the UFC. I like Brown. He's fun. He's scrappy. But when you can't move your feet fast enough to actually land strikes, that's kind of a problem. When somebody won't do the Camacho thing and just stand in front of you and trade wild hooks.
I don't think I've ever seen a fight that was fought basically the entire fight in the middle of the octagon and such low output. It was like, it's frustrating. And and like I said, it came after some awesomeness, so it would kind of
let's get to the awesomeness then. Middleweight, Israel Adesanya, Rob Wilkinson. Look, I'm gonna start out and say, all credit to Wilkinson. He knew what he needed to do to win, and he tried like fuck to make that work. Like, he made every second of every chance he had count. And Adesanya has to work on his ability to break the clinch, his ability to dig underhooks, break body locks. It's a big problem when dudes know all they want to do is just come out and hug you for as hard as possible, as long as possible. Beyond that, though, Adesanya didn't get taken down that much. And the moment that he figured out how to break the clinch, he did a ton of work on Wilkinson.
Yeah, he was instant to return to his feet when he did get taken down. He did get grinded on for the first round, but man, when he finally started picking apart Wilkinson, I mean, he found his groove, and he just, I mean, Oh, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. He turned into like this sharpshooter that was just, his vision was just so clear and it was just impeccable. Like he could see every single opening as soon as it opened, and he had the perfect strike for it. And it was different. It was hooks to the body and like, you know, crosses, and it was just, it reminded me honestly of what Anderson Silva did to Reg Franklin back in the day, the second time they fought. Like he just had this dude submitting under his pressure, under this like methodical pressure, and just, you know, surgically took him apart and, you know, strategically picked his shot so wisely. I mean, oh man, this was gorgeous. This was absolutely gorgeous.
And you know, to Adesanya's credit, it's the fight he had to have against Rob Wilkinson. If he struggled any harder with Rob Wilkinson, then his ability to fight in the UFC at all would be a big question mark. It's like, you've got the easiest matchup at middleweight that you can possibly get. Everybody else is only going to be harder from here on out. How do you answer this call? And he still showed some errors. He still showed some problems, but they're fixable problems. And then when he had a moment to do any work at all, it was all pretty.
Man, his vision though, while he's in killer instinct mode, is just impressive. Like it's.
So is the next step then to set him up with Ryan James?
Sure. Like, why not?
It's the dude that fights like Rob Wilkinson, but with a much better chin.
I'm down. I think anyone like of that caliber is cool with me. Yeah, this dude is special, man. And like his mic skills were like unique and like his own. He straight up said, "Hey, I'm the new dog in the yard, and I just pissed all over the cage. What's up?" Like, man, that's some pretty lofty shit talking there. And apparently he can back it up. So the sky is the limit for this kid. Which is crazy to see him as a middleweight. And then you look at Yoel Romero and his build, and it's like, how are y'all in the same weight class? Like, you weighed in at 183 for this? Like, what?
Yeah, Adesanya is 6'4".
That's nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts. He could use a little bit of extra strength on him too. So maybe, you know, hopefully he'll add a little extra muscle to make sure that he can break the clinch and do hand fight a little better.
Yeah, he really looks like a super young John Jones. Like he just really does. Like just super young, like teenage John Jones.
But he's not that young. He's 28, you know, but he's got the good look about him. Before that, Volkanovski beat Jeremy Kennedy, and man, Volkanovski, like, I knew this was coming, and I felt bad for Jeremy Kennedy because Kennedy's been like super confident since getting to the UFC. You know, talks a good game, thinks he's like one of the best grapplers out there. He's like the featherweight to watch. It's just like, man, you are about to fight somebody who is more powerful than you, hits harder than you, and is just as technical as you are everywhere. This is going to be bad. And Volkanovski just put it the fuck on him.
Yeah, he took his lunch. Kennedy was on such a little hot streak there. And it's like when Billy Badass finally runs into the real Billy Badass. That's what happened here. I mean, it was so dominant and just very almost hard to watch. I mean, just the elbows and onslaught was just nonstop. And you could just see Kennedy taking it, and the ref would be like, "Oh, you better improve your position." And like he actually does enough.
Yeah.
Not like what Yamasaki was doing with Cachoeira the other night, but like Kennedy was actually gutting it out and trying to hang in there and doing his best and trying to lock up guard and control posture, but he just got overwhelmed. He got taken to school here. And shout out to Volkanovski, because he was looking like a fucking problem.
Yeah, I mean, there was a beautiful moment when Kennedy got up and like scrambled for a single leg on Volkanovski, dived in on it, and Volkanovski turned the corner on Kennedy's single leg faster than Kennedy could and just like wrenched him to the mat off of it and started pounding on him. You're like, man, that's a legit problem for guys. If you're able to like take his takedown and not just stuff it, but turn it into your own takedown, and off like a clean takedown too, not like, oh, somebody went for a body lock trip and you just were able to like roll through it and end up on top, but doing that, it was just pretty. And Volkanovski, he makes all, as Patrick Wyman said this on Twitter while we're calling it, and he makes, the biggest thing about him is he makes all the right decisions in any moment. When whatever problem is in front of him, Volkanovski makes the right decision in that moment. And that's a tough, you got that skill behind great athleticism and a great wrestling base and some power punching.
And the pressure.
Yeah.
Like making those decisions while pressuring someone is really hard to do.
Yeah. It'll make Volkanovski a hell of an interesting fighter as he moves up to the top 15 of that division.
Yeah. Where do you think he should go from here?
Oh, man.
The guys I want to see him fight are actually all have losses. I want to see him fight Chaz Scully, and I want to see him fight Jason Knight. But both of those guys are coming off of losses.
There aren't many guys right ahead of him or who are in that top 15 coming off a win who don't already have a fight booked. Dudes like, he called out Jeremy Stevens and Andre Feely.
Isn't Feely free?
Feely might be free. The Feely fight wouldn't be a bad one because even to that extent, not really feel like Feely won his last fight, so I wouldn't mind throwing him at somebody who's lower ranked and coming up the division. I don't feel like I need oh no, Feely has to get somebody better. So I could see Feely. Stevens is already booked. Ricardo Lamas is coming off a loss.
Oh, there's that Guan Wang guy.
Guan Wang would be actually, I think Guan Wang would be just kind of a shit kicking because Guan Wang is very much like a awesome kickboxer who does not have a well-rounded game outside of that. And the fact that he beat Alex Caceres is just kind of a credit to the fact that Alex Caceres is like, oh, you're an awesome kickboxer? Well, I'll try kickboxing with you. No problem.
Alex Caceres.
But what if he fought Mirsad Bektic?
Ooh, now that's tough.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's too much too soon.
No.
I think he's ready for the Wolves. So
he's older than Mirsad Bektic. He's undefeated,
Man. I like it.
There's also Calvin Kattar floating around out there.
He's like the dark horse of that division.
He really is. There are options for Volkanovski. Fun options.
Man. Now you got me intrigued with this Bektic fight. I'm with it.
For that, though, Hussein de Silva beat Ben Nguyen.
Formiga, what's up? This was sweet.
Formiga once again proving to be the man you have to beat if you want a title shot at Demetrius Johnson. You look at the dudes who beat Formiga, and it's John Dodson, title challenger, Joseph Benavidez, title challenger, Henry Cejudo, title challenger, and Ray Borg, title challenger.
This sucks. This sucks for Formiga. It's a beautiful club and sub. It's a tech sub too, which is all the rage. But it's a weird place because he can call out Demetrius Johnson, which is great. However, the three guys ahead of him in line have all beat Formiga already. So it's like he's actually the gatekeeper to the title shot, like you're saying, but doesn't even know it. And that's kind of sad.
I mean, I'm honestly kind of inclined to obviously DJ is going to fight Dillashaw at some point in the future. They're both just leaning into that fight now, and I'm happy for it. But after that, I almost want to just give Formiga the title shot. He's never going to beat one of the dudes ahead of him. And
then he doesn't deserve a title shot.
I know.
You're leapfrogging three dudes that beat you. I can't do it. But I am down to see him try to avenge one of those losses. And then after that, cool. But when you got three motherfuckers ahead of you that beat that ass, no, sir.
Yeah, probably the Ray Borg fight would be the one of those to take to most likely turn the table. Unless, I guess he could fight Joe B when Joe B ever comes back from ripping the fuck out of his knee. That might be the only other way. But I think Cejudo would just, beat him worse next time around.
Cejudo's looking like a problem, though.
Yeah.
Poor
for Nguyen, though, little sad. This was Nguyen's fight to get to prove that he's a title challenger after that upset Elliott win, and Formiga just came out and showed him that leading with only head kicks half the time is not actually a good strategy.
No, but Nguyen was looking kind of sharp out there though. Like he was landing some really good punches, slipping, bobbing and weaving, doing all that, looking good. And then he got cute and was like, let me go throw this naked head kick and see what happens. And then Formiga throws a fucking spinning back fist as a counter to a head kick. Who the fuck does that?
Yeah, I mean, Formiga caught it at one point. He got a takedown off of it. I think he countered it once before. And it's just one of those things like Nguyen throws that kick so much to the body and head as a lead that Formiga had obviously keyed off of it and was just like, I can counter this a bunch of different ways. Here's one of them.
Yeah, man, it was brutal. I mean, they probably could have stopped the fight after the spinning back fist. They didn't have to let Formiga choke him out like that.
It's pretty though. I love that.
Yeah, man, it's a club and tech sub.
Yeah,
the rarest of the rare. But still, bad place to be for Formiga. Even worse place for Ben Nguyen, because now he's like Mr. Inconsistent.
Yep. For that, Ross Pearson beat Mizuto Hirota in what was like the moment Hirota tried to turn it into something other than a sparring match, he almost knocked Ross Pearson out and then spent the rest of the fight locked into a sparring match that he just couldn't win.
Yeah, this fight kind of irked me a little bit. You know, it was really back and forth. I can see Hirota getting the nod here. I think 30-27 is absolutely absurd, to be quite honest. And, you know, how Pearson wins round 2 after getting hurt that bad is really beyond me.
You know, I actually was okay with 30-27 Ross Pearson because he did get hurt bad, but he didn't get dropped. Like,
he did the stanky leg.
He did the stanky leg, but it's not like Jose Quinones getting a. Did he get it? Actually, I don't know that he got a 30-27 over Teruto.
Yeah, he did. Well, he got one 30-27.
Yeah, it's not Quinones getting a 30-27 over Ishihara, despite being like floored in the second round, where it's just like, how the fuck are you scoring that?
Well, I mean, they're both fucked up in my opinion. Yeah. But, like, you can't get hurt and do the stanky leg and win a round if you don't hurt your opponent at all. Like, granted, Hirota was busted up and bleeding a little bit from the face. Yeah. But he didn't do a stanky leg. Like, you do a stanky leg and no one else does it in the round, you lose that round.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you because that's generally one of my talking points. That when you got to score very obvious signs of damage, because damage is what wins a fight more than anything else. If you're hurt worse, then you're losing. Like, there's just no other way around that.
Yeah, so I can't get on board with the 30-27. I'm okay that Ross won the fight. Like, that's fine with me. But 30-27 times 2, nah.
Yeah. For that, Quinones beat Ishihara.
No,
I almost thought Ishihara won it, but the replay of the first round, the end of the first round, Ishihara just like caught him with a knee to the body at the end that Quinones stumbled on, and it wasn't a knockdown. I thought it was a knee that landed to the chin, and at which point, if Ishihara knocked him down in rounds 1 and 2, I was willing to like consider that Ishihara might have won that fight, but he didn't. So I was willing enough to score that for Quinones, but there's no way Quinones won round 2 after almost getting knocked out.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I think the third round is debatable also. I think Ishihara was definitely the fresher down the stretch, staying on his feet, landing, you know, his low risk volume. So kind of a weird decision. Again, I'm not upset with the decision necessarily, but the 30-27 is criminal. It's almost criminal.
And before that, to lead off the card, Luke Jumo beat Daichi Abe, and it really seemed like Abe just gassed out hard after the first round. Like, he dominated Jumo in that round.
He just can't figure out when to dump his gas tank.
Yeah, and then after
too
that,
late or too early, it's like,
yeah, sad fight for Abe in that regard, because he looked great starting out, and then just was not there for either of the last 2 rounds at all.
And you know what, though? Shit. There was a moment there in the third round where Abe lands a punch, and it
I know. He should have won
the eye.
That was the fucked up thing. That's you're right to remind me. That was the other fucked up thing is that he should have won that by TKO because Jumo waved. He stopped the fight after getting punched in the eye, and he got fucking punched in the eye. You can't stop the fight. The ref, the ref needs to be on that.
Yeah.
That's a TKO loss for Jumo, and he got to keep going after that, and that was the last of Abe's energy, and Abe just was gassed out the rest of that round.
It's fucked up, man, and it's going to get swept under the rug, and no one's going to say anything about it, but if you're a referee, you can't let the guys stop the fight themselves. Like, if you don't see it, you're not supposed to call it. It happens. I get it. It actually happens a lot.
Yep.
But it's kind of unfortunate in this situation.
It is. Yeah, so this card definitely had a bad start, a pretty good middle other than that Dong Young Kim, Damian Brown fight. And then other than, Blaydes versus Mark Hunt, I get not being the most fun thing to watch, but the main card, not a high-level main card. Pedro Saparov, Tuivasa Asker, Blaydes Hunt, all kind of sloppy fights. But a pretty fun, like a fun one. Lots of good back and forth hard fights. That Matthews Jingliang fight was really good. And
that was gritty. Real gritty.
Yeah, and Romero Rockhold, can't argue against that. That was a fun fight. Who doesn't like seeing Luke Rockhold get knocked out?
I know I do, and I like Luke Rockhold.
Yeah, there's just something about watching him get knocked out that's just not bad,
And Steve Percival, he got booed. Not like he usually does in like Sydney, but he still got booed, which hits me right here in the feels.
All right. Well, on that note, you can boo us online over at Buddy Elbow and on MMANation.com, DOTCOM over on YouTube. While you're there, give us a like. I don't care if you're booing us. Still like the show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMANation.com, whatever. I just said that. That doesn't matter. We'll be back with
Twitter. Find us on the Twitter.
Yeah, find us on Twitter. You can find me at TheZaneTime. You can find Eddie at The Eddie Mercado. And we'll be back next week for sixth round of UFC Austin, I believe.
Yes, sir. Fight Night 126? Is that what that one is?
And we'll have vivisection and heavy hands and if I did it and care don't care and all that stuff leading up to the fight, sixth round afterward. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next time.